If you are in Adekunle's situation, what would you do? Let's find out in the story. Once upon a time, in a bustling city in Nigeria, there was a man named Adekunle. Adekunle was an average Nigerian man living in Lagos where life moved fast and the streets were always bustling. He had worked hard for everything he owned, including his prized possession, a sleek Toyota Camry that he used to drive to work every day. It wasn't the newest model, but it was reliable and represented years of hard work. He had just finished another busy day at the office, where he worked as an accountant at a modest firm in Ikeja. It wasn't his dream job, but he paid the bills, and the car was proof that his hard work had borne fruit. As he navigated through the crowded streets, horns blaring and hawkers weaving between cars, Adekunle's mind drifted to thoughts of home. He looked forward to the peace and quiet he would find there after the long day. Dinner, perhaps a little television, and a good night's rest before the cycle began anew. He was nearing a quieter part of town when it happened. Out of nowhere, a black SUV swerved in front of him, blocking his path. Adekunle hit the brakes hard, his heart leaping into his throat. Before he could make sense of what was happening, two men emerged from the SUV, their faces partially obscured by bandanas. Each held a gun, and Adekunle's breath caught in his chest. "Get out of the car," one of them barked, his voice harsh and demanding. Adekunle's hands trembled as he fumbled with the seatbelt, his mind racing. His heart pounded in his ears, and fear gripped him like a vice. He wanted to fight back, to resist, but deep down he knew better. Lagos was notorious for its crime, and one wrong move could cost him his life. As soon as he was out of the car, the men shoved him roughly to the side of the road. They didn't waste any time. One jumped into the driver's seat, while the other quickly got into the passenger's side. In seconds, the engine roared to life, and Adekunle could only watch helplessly as his beloved car sped away into the distance, disappearing around a corner. For a moment, he stood there in stunned silence, unable to process what had just happened. His car, his pride and joy was gone. He felt an overwhelming sense of loss and violation. The street was eerily quiet now, the sound of his car's engine fading into the distance. After a few minutes, Adekunle gathered his wits and began walking, still in shock. He needed to get to the police station and report the robbery, though he didn't have much hope. The police in Lagos had a reputation for being indifferent at best and corrupt at worst, but he had to try. When he arrived at the station, he was greeted by bored-looking officers who barely lifted their heads as he entered. Adekunle explained his situation, recounting the robbery in as much detail as he could, but the officers seemed uninterested. They took down his information with sluggish movements, making half-hearted promises to investigate. Adekunle knew it was unlikely he would ever see his car again. Over the next few days, Adekunle's sadness deepened. Without his car, he couldn't get to work easily, and even if he could, he felt too shaken to focus on anything. The car had been more than just a mode of transportation. It had been a symbol of his achievements, and now it was gone. His sense of security was shattered, replaced by anxiety and helplessness. Every time he closed his eyes, he replayed the robbery in his mind, haunted by the moment the gunmen had taken his car from him. One evening, desperate to clear his head, Adekunle decided to take a walk around his neighborhood. The air was cool, and he hoped the exercise would help ease his troubled mind. He stepped outside and walked towards the gate, pushing it open as he prepared to step into the street. What he saw made him freeze in place. His car was parked right outside his gate. His Toyota Camry, the very same car that had been stolen from him just days ago. Adekunle blinked, certain his eyes were playing tricks on him. but the car remained where it was. His heart raced, confusion swirling in his mind. He approached the car cautiously, half expecting it to disappear the closer he got. But it was real, solid, his car. He reached for the door handle, and to his surprise, the door wasn't locked. Inside, sitting on the dashboard, was the car key. Adekunle's confusion deepened. Who had returned the car? And why had they left it here? He couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. With trembling hands, he opened the boot of the car to check inside. There, lying in the boot, was a bundle of money, neatly stacked bills far more than he had ever seen in one place before. Adekunle stared at the money, his mind racing once again. What was happening? Why had the robbers returned his car and left this money? Was it a mistake? A trap? He shut the boot quickly, his heart pounding in his chest. Should he report this to the police? Or should he keep quiet about the money and just tell them he had found the car? Adekunle stood there, torn between fear and temptation, wondering what his next move should be. If it was you, what would you do? Like and drop your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.